And we're back. I'm Professor Scott Plum at the Minnesota Sales Institute, and with me is Bill Hellkamp of Reach Development Systems.
Are you more interested in work-life balance than on getting the job done? Does your morning routine include a big cup of coffee and extended internet news? Are long walks on the beach and 2-hour lunches part of your daily schedule? If that's true for you, quit sales and become a politician, because success at sales means consistent effort and diligence. But the rewards are great if you're willing to do the work. So buckle up for a spirited conversation on the hard work of selling and much more on episode 432 of the Get in the Door podcast.
For those that are still listening, because I think we might have lost a few people on that opening.
That was my jazz voice.
I was falling asleep during the first half.
I had to relax them because
where's the background music?
There's some very relaxed people out there trying to sell.
Oh yeah. It's all about being. Okay, that's important, but it's also about doing. There's a balance between the two. So we'll talk about that. But let's talk about the book club first, Beyond Selling Value. And this chapter 5 is on the power of research, the advice squad. This talks a lot about being a coach. I thought it was very interesting chapter. It gave a lot of structure, I think, to the role of being a sales coach and working with salespeople.
Some great ideas on how to think about and look for coaches, how to mind them and help them to develop.
I think there are two types of coaches or consultants or
champions, right?
People that work with salespeople that are hired to have an impact on salespeople.
Well, wait a minute. Now, maybe I'm getting it wrong, but these weren't sales coaches from a sales leader standpoint. These were sales coaches from within the company to teach you about the other company.
Sure, but
okay.
And I think it still applies. Yeah,
because there's two types of coaches, right?
Right.
Oh, okay.
Go ahead and tell us about the two types, because I want to be in context too.
Okay, well, one is the coach they're talking about here, and that is somebody that can teach you about a business that you're trying to get into. Maybe somebody that used to work there or somebody internally. We might call them the champion in some ways.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other is maybe somebody who is your sales manager can be your coach.
Mm-hmm.
Or Scott, I know you and I both coach people
mm-hmm.
in the sales area. So which actually we're going to talk about a little bit when we talk about the hard work of selling, because I have some great examples.
So in that role, I think there are two types of coaches, depending on the role. And one is making better followers, and another is making better leaders. And this kind of goes into the teach a man to fish, and teach a man or woman to fish. They'll fish forever, but give them a fish, they'll rely on you, and they'll have to keep coming back to you.
And they'll be mad at you. So
right. So
you got to go for the full quote.
When you pick somebody, and I think that this chapter kind of overlaps well with our topic of playing the role of being a salesperson, is accountability. And I think coaches need to hold their followers, who they're mentoring, to a level of accountability, and to be able to grow with them and to continue to support them, not them being loyal to you and always having to come to you get the information. When companies hire me, I say to them, there is going to be a time where you will set me free, because I have nothing more to offer you. I have given you all I want and all I have and all you need, where I'm out of the picture. My goal is not to create a 6-year relationship with you where I'm constantly giving you information and you need me. I want to be able to teach you how to do it yourself, and I'm out.
Right. Yeah. We're trying to help people in coaching become independent of us, but sometimes part of that coaching is holding them accountable in a kind way, helping them see their faults themselves so that they can correct them. And that's always the challenge with coaching. Do I tell them what they need to do, or do I help them find what they need to do? And I'm always someone that says we're trying to do both of those, but sometimes they can't find it if they don't know where it is.
Right.
If they don't know what they should be doing, you have to give some advice, but then you also have to help them then integrate that advice so that they're on their own, independent, and become a true salesperson who's not reliant on that coach all the time.
For some of our loyal listeners, Bill used the word help twice in that paragraph. And I
You know
just
what?
got
We
to
can
say,
help people. You know what? I'm not.
I
I'm
got
not
to just
helping
call
my
it out,
customer.
though. I mean, people are looking at me going, or listening, going, Professor, did you hear that?
Yeah, well,
are you still taking that position?
Scott
But
hates everybody, so he doesn't ever
no,
want to
oh,
help them.
geez.
So,
I mean, there's a difference between working with, and I always think that's a great
all
substitute.
right, well,
But in this chapter, it does talk about a willing to help. But somebody needs to want help. If they don't want help, you're wasting your time. And
yeah.
if you're trying to coach somebody that doesn't want help, forget about it.
Well, I think we got. I
know.
think we also have to look at coaches in context of what they were talking about in this chapter, and that is as a champion or as someone that can help you to find out information about the company that you're trying to work on. And they told a great story at the end about the CFO of a company who had some special limitations when he had started with the company 30 years before and was totally valued by the company now and totally loyal to it. And that champion or coach got them to see the people that they needed to see, the CEO that they wanted to talk to. So I think that's one of the ways that we can cultivate a coach, is somebody who's willing to tell us about the inside information on an organization, what its needs are, and how we can work with them to improve their processes.
They pointed out 5 things that really make up a good coach. Let's go through them, Bill, and we can add some other stuff to it. But one is being knowledgeable. And I think there's 2 types of knowledge. There's knowledge about being a product knowledge. There's industry knowledge. I also think mindset is important too when it comes to being a coach. So we need to be able to have a mindset. And there's the difference between, knowing and then having the inspiration to applying. The second one is credibility.
Well, let's talk about knowledgeable a little bit,
okay,
because I think some of the things you talked about, what their product and you can find a lot of people in an organization to tell you about product. I mean, product knowledge is rampant in organizations, but insider information, what's going on in the organization, where's the future, where do they want to go, what are the real problems that they're dealing with, those are the things you're not going to find out through research. So I think we're looking for this coach to give us things we can't find out from other sources. So that's the kind of knowledge I think we're looking for from them.
Well, and there's another area that's important, and that's market knowledge, looking at trends that are in the market that are going on right now, because that's part of the Challenger sale, is bringing in information that's related to the market that your prospects need to know about. And when you're related as, I call them market ambassadors, I always think that that's a soft approach to getting into a company, saying, please consider me a market ambassador, because I'm going to be able to share with you information about what's going on in the market, which overlaps with the industry at the same time. And then people want information. We know that salespeople have information. Prospects want information. Prospects ask salespeople a lot of questions to get information. The salespeople spew out all the information, but they never ask any questions about, I'm kind of curious, why did you bring that up now? Why is that important, et cetera? I'm getting off on a tangent, but that's how you apply
What's new about that?
Well, it's important. It's important.
Well, I think too, one of the things that we want with this insider information quite often is what not to say or what not to do. If we're, just to use a very simple example, we're talking to somebody and he says, well, I'll tell you what, my boss hates blue. Don't ever bring up blue. And like we were thinking, hey, blue is our favorite color here, and we're going to use that blue. And it teaches us to say, don't bring up the blue. And we couldn't find that anywhere if we didn't get that from some kind of a coach.
Right. Next one is credibility. So they have to have some respect and credibility. They need to be able to, I think, have some past successes and experience that are relevant to the current situation. And those past experiences can sometimes be outside of an industry, but there's a certain skill and strategy and process that they subscribe to.
Yeah. Do you think that credible also means that they have a certain authority within the organization, that people look to them for this type of information?
I think if you have a conversation with them and you're done having a conversation with them, you want to know something that you didn't know before you started a conversation. I mean, have you ever talked to a person for an hour and absolutely nothing was ever discussed or talked about that was of any substance at all? I mean, they go back and forth and all of this different analogies and metaphors. But tell me something that I need to know, and tell me something that you're going to be able to bring something to this relationship that I don't already have.
So I think that credibility is very important. If you're going to have a champion and they're going to help you push a project through, They have to have some kind of authority. It doesn't have to be a title authority, but it has to be that credibility.
Mm-hmm. And that's the next one, willing to help. So they have to be able to be available. They have to be able to contribute. They want to be able to be part of a win. And that's number 4 is they want to win. So you can kind of see an overlap between the two of them.
Which means they get something out of it probably.
And it doesn't mean that, they are the hero in the spotlight, but they get a reward of somebody having confidence in them, that the person that you gave the information to believed in them so much, they wanted to be like them.
Yep.
And they had the confidence that they felt that this knowledge was going to be relevant, or the skill, et cetera. And they had the guts and courage to apply it.
Well, they talked a lot about a number of different ways that a coach might win. They might get more prestige. They might get a project they want done. This might be a piece or a product that they want included, or it just, as you said, builds up their esteem in the organization. So like in anything in sales, we're looking for that reason that
Right.
someone wants to help us, so that we can make sure they get that, and then they're willing to help us more in the future.
When I get invited in and I work with a company and I meet with each salesperson, I want to know if they're going to apply the stuff that I talk about. And if they have a problem with the stuff that I talk about, I want them to have the guts and courage to push back on it, have a conversation with it, and to be able to learn a little bit different approach that's better than what they're doing right now.
Yeah,
And I want to grow with them, and I want them to be better. I just don't want to get paid. I want them to be better people when the whole experience is over with.
And if they're not frustrated sometimes, we're probably not helping them properly.
Well, they're not willing to change if they're not frustrated because they're complacent.
Well, I think that frustration, and all of us have a resistance to change or trying new things. And sometimes that flares up in a frustration when they are asked to try something new. So sometimes even with our coaches, we have to push them a little bit to go outside of their paradigms that they're caught in within their organization. We're trying to help them bring in new ideas. And quite often, we may find out that blue is the right color that's going to sell the most for them, even if their boss hates blue. So now how do we do our best job helping them win, even though there's this barrier to winning that is within the organization?
And just using your example, Bill, and handling that objection, I think a great approach to that is, could you share with me a little bit about what makes blue a problem? And now we're able to find out more of the attributes. And we might be dealing with a misconception or some skepticism about blue, when in reality, blue is the right answer, or parts of blue is what they want to find in somebody else.
Well, I think we may find that, when we go up one level to the person who hates blue, but if our coach is telling us Larry doesn't like blue, he may not know why Larry doesn't like blue. He just knows that, nobody brings up blue in his presence. So that person, again, may not have all the answers, but may know things that you need to know to move forward.
One thing I really liked is on page 84, for those of you that are playing along at home, there's a great figure there on coach development. And I thought there were some very interesting areas. And I don't want to really get into all of them, but if you've got the book, you know what I'm talking about. So it's not too late to get the book or win the book in a drawing. Oh, right. You mean people could go to the getinthedoorpodcast.com and enter a drawing? Yes, you can.
And they could have the book for their very own. What was number 5? You said there were 5 things.
Proactive.
Okay.
Being proactive. And I think this is, and this is one of the topics I want to bring up in our next segment, is there's a difference between being reactive and proactive. And coaches have to be proactive. They need to be able to be in front of a situation. They need to be able to encounter certain objections or conceptually understand certain objections before they occur and deal with them.
You can't have a coach that's folding just because Larry doesn't like blue.
Or just sits in their office and says, hey, if you have a problem, come and talk to me. Otherwise, I'm going to be right here.
But they're not pushing anything. They're not moving anything forward when you're not there.
Right. So have to be accountable.
Excellent. Well, I think it's a good idea to develop these coaches. I seem to a lot of time in my sales world have run into a coach and built that relationship. But what this book really gives me is a more strategic way to develop them, rather than just through good relationships and answering questions well. I like thinking it through in a better way than I've done in the past.
Anything more you wanted to
No,
add?
I think that's good on this. Yeah.
Okay. I mentioned the book giveaway earlier, and we're grateful that Joe Hutchinson entered the drawing, and he's it. And thanks, Joe, for entering the drawing. Thanks for your comment on the website. And he said, new to the podcast, I'm getting back into sales and looking forward to some windshield time with you guys. So it's really great. And that's a fabulous use of time. So if you're driving around, listening to podcasts is a great trade of your time.
So we'll get that book sent out to you. It is an autographed copy of Beyond Selling Value by Mark Shonka and Dan Kosh. And as Scott says, it will help you to play along.
This segment has been brought to you by the Jumpstart Sales Coaching Program presented by your host of Get in the Door podcast. Business is heating up, and now is the time to get back on the selling track. While others wait for the market to improve, prospects and opportunities await you now. Perhaps you want to be more productive on your prospecting, or you'd like to increase your closing percentage. Maybe having meetings online is not as comfortable as being in person. Sales reps are telling us they need some honest accountability and skill development to rise above the competition. Whatever your reason, this is the perfect time to engage with an experienced sales coach. That is why the host of Get in the Door podcast, Professor Scott Plum and Bill Hellkamp, have developed the Jumpstart Sales Coaching Program. For only $495, you can receive personal coaching from the same sales professionals you enjoy on this podcast. It all starts with a discussion to give us your insights into your specific goals, challenges, needs, and motivation. After your 1-hour online session to jumpstart your coaching process, you will receive 5 more half-hour individual coaching sessions to enable you to make improvements over time and create new habits. Most salespeople make their money back with just one sale. Go to getinthedoorpodcast.com to contact Bill or Scott about the Jumpstart Sales Coaching Program. Do you believe you deserve better results? Now is the time to invest in yourself and invest in your future.
So our key topic today is the hard work of selling. And I know Scott and I have both run into people who they want to make the money of a salesperson, a successful salesperson, but they don't want to do the work. They want to just pluck the low-hanging fruit. So if you're a sales professional, you have a lot to do. So let's make a quick list here. So Scott, maybe you can fill in a couple of things that I'm missing, but I have number one, prospecting, 5, 10, maybe 50 calls every day, depending upon your type of business.
Absolutely. So true. We always have to be able to keep new leads coming in the pipeline. Next one is creating a prospecting list.
Yep. Takes a lot of time to do that. How about appointments?
Appointments,
10, 15 appointments a week. That takes a bulk of your time.
It really does. And preparing for calls and appointments before those appointments.
The Challenger sale, everything we've talked about so far, right, is preparing calls. Yep.
So
follow-up calls.
Yeah.
Right? So you get 4 or 5 things going. You got to call them. You got to prospect. You got to get the leads. You got to talk about current deals, current customers, a lot of follow-up calls.
And also following up on messages that you left. So whether you had a conversation with them or not.
That's right. I left a bunch of messages. Now maybe they're going to call me back. So what are we going to do? Proposals, rewriting the same proposal over again. That can take, it's like, oh, I finally got a proposal. Well, there's a few hours.
Well, they got to customize it because they want to feel special too.
That's right.
RFPs, when you respond to an RFP, sometimes that can take a lot of work. Sometimes
I've seen them take weeks.
Oh, and you can also tell who the incumbent is if you read them really closely.
That's right. Yeah, I'm not a big RFP responder because I didn't write it. So record keeping. Boy, this is one that salespeople seem to hate, putting the stuff in their CRM. I met with this customer. Here's what they said. Here's what I said. That can take some time.
Do you want me to bang on the keyboard or you want me to talk to somebody about selling something?
Yeah, well, sometimes you got to bang on the keyboard. You don't remember who you're going to talk to and what you said to them.
Doing the thank you notes or is it great? Follow-up, letters, other correspondence, emails, follow-up on emails. You send an email, you don't get a response. Check out your sent folder. Find out who didn't respond. Yeah,
check your junk folder. See who responded and it went into your junk folder. Technology updates. Anytime your computer doesn't work, you got to update this. You got to put in a new format. You've got to get a new phone. All these little things that have to happen because technology saves us time.
Sometimes there's new apps too on your phones. There's also personal marketing, got LinkedIn, social media, newsletters, emails. They take time.
Oh yeah, and needs from your boss and other corporate people who want information from you. Give me your sales funnel. What are your top 5 customers? Got to respond to all that stuff.
Answering emails. Sometimes they ask you a short question and they want you to give a long answer. So you need to find out more information about the context of their email.
Yep. I'd like to call them if I have too long of an email, but we don't do that anymore. We spend hours answering emails. Industry and product updates, keeping yourself knowledgeable, especially in terms of what we've been talking about here with the Challenger sale and in this Beyond Selling Value. If you're going to be a valuable asset, you better know something, which means you got to keep up on industry news.
Yeah. sometimes client lunches, outings, special events. We're getting into the holiday season. If they're having a holiday party, you want to feel compelled to, make the time to attend. I know you're busy, but you got to be able to maintain that social interaction with our prospects and clients.
We don't know when we'll get to see our clients again, but those lunches and those outings happen. So, Man, that's a lot of time, Scott.
It is. So you got to be able to balance everything, and you got to measure it too.
So how do you balance everything?
I like to always make a schedule of what is a perfect week, and to be able to be 2 or 3 weeks out and be able to fill in the blanks on things that might come up, or allow time in my calendar for things that might come up, so that I am able to be proactive and cover the things that are important and urgent. And
so do you use the same perfect week that just as a starter every time, that kind of a format?
It's kind of a guideline when it comes to days. You got monthly meetings or you have weekly meetings, and you start to work around that. And if you're a route salesperson and you're stopping in certain areas and you want to drop in on a prospect, do some research before you do that and be able to maximize your route time. I always think if you're making appointments and you're out and about, be 2 or 3 weeks out, sometimes 4 weeks out. Mm-hmm. You go to the west side of town for a 9 o'clock meeting, and then you go to the east side of town for an 11 o'clock meeting, and then you got a 2 o'clock meeting on the west side, and then back to the east side, and you're going back and forth. It's like, no, be 3 weeks out. And
I call that the star pattern.
Yeah.
You're driving the star pattern, you're in trouble because you're spending a lot more windshield time than you should.
Yeah. So be proactive in managing your time and working efficiently. And I think the more you measure, the more you're going to be able to find out how you can be efficient and effective.
I like to do block timing too. I find that very important for me. And I move those blocks around. Now, I tend to be more productive in the morning. So I'll have more block time in the morning where I'm making phone calls. I'm working on a proposal. I'm following up with clients, or I'm writing. I do some writing for my own projects. But if I have coaching to do or appointments, I tend to like to do those in the afternoon. One, I'll usually start off if I can with a lunch. So I'll do that about 11:30. Then I'll try to put 3 or 4 appointments in that afternoon. If I don't get that filled up, then as you say, we'll try see if we can get a few people we can drop in on while we're out and about, find some new businesses, do some research while I'm out in a particular area. But because I'm less productive in the afternoon, meetings force me to be sharper in the afternoon. Do you do anything like that?
I always like to make the morning more of a prospecting, like you do, because I think people are usually more available in the morning. And as the day progresses, there's certain distractions and meetings and priorities and fires that prospects need to put out. So I always like to be
a little more approachable in the morning.
Yeah.
Okay.
And sometimes if they need to cancel a meeting, they have to cancel a meeting because something came up in the morning too.
Right.
And I want to be able to still talk with them before that happens.
Okay. So what we're really saying is, don't just go into every week with it calendarizing you or challenging you, or whatever's on your calendar causes your week to look in a certain way. Start to think about your week in a productive way, in a proactive way, and control that calendar so that you're doing the best things at the best time. The other thing I might do in terms of prospecting is some of the people I couldn't get hold of in the morning, I might do at 4:30 or even 5 o'clock, where other people are gone. Sometimes the secretaries are gone or the gatekeepers are gone, and you have more opportunity at 5:30 to get hold of that manager, that leader, that CEO.
Good advice.
Now, one of the things I always worry about is the number of things we talked about could make an 8 or 10 hour day easily, right? And so most successful salespeople I know, they're getting started at 7 and they're finishing at 5:30 or 6, maybe even later for some of them if they're really into it to get all those things done. But I think the biggest challenge I had are those activities that we avoid. They seem to take more time. They seem to be more painful. I had a sales manager once say, you've got to do the 20% of stuff in sales that you hate, but are crucial, so you can do the 80% that you enjoy. Mm-hmm. So let me go through some of let's go through if you have some idea too of what things people avoid. I think the number one thing people avoid is prospecting.
Right. Definitely.
Now, why do you think we do that? I mean, I know you work on that a lot. You're really skilled in prospecting.
Well, it's not necessarily always my strong suit, but I feel like I have to do it. So get good at it and enjoy it, and do it in a way where it's rewarding in a way of feeling like you were productive. I always, if I'm not in a position of making the phone calls that I want, I feel like I'm somebody else is beating me, or I'm falling behind, or I'm competitive with somebody else and they're gaining on me, and I feel like I'm not being able to stay ahead of them.
So you kind of get that into your mind, that competitiveness, even though you can't see the competitors.
Right. And I kind of like take it on as a junkie. I'm a junkie when it comes to prospecting.
Yeah.
I got to get my fix on, and I got to be able to do it. And it's just go at it and have fun at it. Make it fun. I mean, you can make prospecting so much fun just by being different than everybody else when you do it. And I think it makes it a lot easier.
The second thing on my list is networking. And I don't mean ineffective networking. I mean effective. Now, once we get back to the point where we can start meeting with people again, I think networking will come back. I'm trying to do it on Zoom meetings, not finding that to be too effective yet. We keep trying to find ways in this new reality to do that. But one of the things I found in live networking is most people they come to a meeting, they grab a cup of coffee, they grab a donut, their hands are full. And now they can't even meet people because they're so worried about the food that they got and then they see somebody across the room that they don't particularly like, but they know, and they spend the next half hour talking to that person instead of meeting new people. So
I'm guilty of that sometimes.
Yeah. Well, I have in the past said, "Hey, Scott, it's really good to see you. I don't have time to talk to you."
Right.
That's not what I'm here for. So.
Yeah, we'll catch up.
Number 3 I have is asking for referrals.
Right. This is, I think, more of a conceptual barrier than a technical, meaning they don't know what to say. I think it's easy to say it, but they have a mindset of, how can I ask for a referral if they didn't buy from me? They have no idea what my product is like or working with me, so I can't ask for a referral. Well, maybe they know somebody that has a problem or a challenge or that could benefit from the conversation that you just had with them. And when you ask for a referral, you're saying to somebody, I want to grow my business. I am committed to my customers and clients in the industry, and I want more. I'm not complacent. I'm not leveling off. I'm not telling people that they're not important. Yeah. So.
Well, one of the things I found to be the most useful for me is I have a list of 10 to 12 companies that I want to work with. And instead of saying, Larry, do you know anybody I should talk to? I say, Larry, here's my list of 12 companies I want to do business with. Do you know anybody at any of these companies? And because I work in a specific geographical area, it's pretty interesting that how often they'll know 1 or 2 people at a certain company or at 2 companies and are willing to give me that name and number to just call and start networking and building my referral base from that. So I think that when you say to somebody, hey, who do you know that could use this? It doesn't come to mind. But if you have a list of companies, it gives them something specifically to structure that referral around.
Right.
Number 4 on my list is people do not like to do pre-approach or pre-meeting preparation. They like to wing it. I know what CEOs in this industry need, so I'll just call and use my generic, hey, this is Bill from Reach Development Systems. We do really great work. Should you talk to me?
Yeah, exactly.
And then we hang the phone and, hey, this is Bill from Reach Development. Hey, this is Bill from Reach Development. Hey. Yeah. So you get in, and pretty soon it's, hey, this is Bill from Reach Development.
Right.
You don't want to talk to me either, do you?
No.
That's my favorite one. I love it when kids come to the door with their candy or whatever they're trying to sell, and they go, you wouldn't want to buy a candy bar, would you?
Right. No.
Nope.
Got that right.
I knew it. And then they leave. So that's good. And then number 5, planning and record keeping. You talked about that banging the keyboard.
Yeah. You got to measure your time, because you're trading your activities for the time. What's the best use of your time? Did you make good trades? That's what you have to ask yourself every day at the end of the day.
That time is the only value you have, right? I mean, your expertise and all those, but it's your asset is the time, how you use it and what you use it for. So start getting things done, right? What do you need to get done? Yeah. Anything else you want to add to that, Scott?
No, that's a great list.
Okay, good. I have a resource on that, a blog. I have a blog on that.
Oh, really?
I would come into the 20th century now, 21st century. Yeah. It's called The Labor of Selling, and it'll talk about some of these issues that we talked about. We'll have that on the getinthedoorpodcast.com. Anything that you have readily available?
There's other resources there, and people can search there.
This segment of the Get in the Door podcast is brought to you by The Art of Prospecting, Your Guide to Getting in the Door by Steve Ploida. Steve Kloida was known internationally for increasing salespeople's ability to make solid appointments with qualified prospects. You too can learn this essential skill by ordering a copy of his superb book, The Art of Prospecting, Your Guide to Getting in the Door. In this book, Steve shares the top strategies and tactics he has developed, implemented, and personally tested with more than 1 million sales and prospecting calls. You can get his book on the website, theprospectingexpert.com. In addition, check out his other great online resources. Instant Sales Coaching, which will guide you through 5 online success modules. A guided prospecting process entitled Call Reluctance Transformer, and the Magnetic Selling Strategies Workbook, a detailed step-by-step guide to increasing your sales. Get any of these valuable resources at theprospectingexpert.com.
Our golden nugget today is a quote from Plato. I love Plato, philosopher. He says, happiness is possible only if reason rules the emotions and desires, and both the emotions and desires have been trained to be led harmoniously by reason. Ooh, if you really listen to that, break that down,
I'm thinking you're not going to find these ideas on Twitter.
Well, hopefully
I
it's
don't
too
think
long
Twitter
for
is
Twitter.
a reasoned, thoughtful place anymore.
It's basically happiness is a choice. Yeah. And when we look at our emotions and desires, it's managing our feelings. And during this emotional time in our country right now, I think we really need to apply reason and not get emotionally charged with one way or the other way, but really think about being led harmoniously by reason.
Yeah, I think we do react too much to feelings, and I think those feelings are pushed on us by the media these days, by all media, left and right. It doesn't matter. Their goal is to get you upset, to make you feel more than think more. So we have to start thinking more and maybe feeling less, or not making our decisions based on that. So I think that's good by Plato. Isn't it Plato?
Plato, yeah.
And
close,
Socrates.
Yeah.
Maybe you do a Socrates one next.
Right.
All right. Well,
next week we're going to cover chapter 6 in the book Beyond Selling Value, the inside stuff. And our topic is going to be on reasons why companies' sales channels fail.
And you can get all the information, all the updates, the show notes at getinthedoorpodcast.com. And also you can put your name in with just any kind of comment or question to Scott or I. Put yourself in for the book drawing, getinthedoorpodcast.com. Go out and get better, one skill at a time.
Joyful selling.